Get away from me. I do not need your pity." The words came out harsh and defensive, the voice of a 12-year-old girl who had already learned that kindness always came with strings attached. She pressed herself harder against the cold brick wall of the abandoned building, her arms wrapped around her hollow stomach, her eyes wild with fear and hunger. The boy standing in front of her did not leave. He was maybe 14 years old, wearing a school uniform that had seen better days and carrying a backpack that hung low on his shoulders. His skin was dark brown, his eyes were warm, and he was holding out half of a sandwich like it was the most natural thing in the world. "I am not giving you pity," he said. "I am giving you food. There is a difference." "Why?" "You do not know me. I know you are hungry. That is enough." The girl stared at him with eyes that had seen too much for someone so young. Eyes that had watched her mother choose drugs over her daughter. Eyes that had learned to recognize danger in every stranger's face. Eyes that had forgotten what kindness looked like. "What do you want from me?" "Nothing." The boy sat down beside her on the cold concrete, close enough to offer comfort, but far enough to respect her space. "My name is Marcus. Marcus Thompson. What is yours?" She did not answer for a long moment. Then, so quietly he almost missed it, "Victoria. Victoria Chun. Nice to meet you, Victoria Chun." He held out the sandwich again. "My mama made this for me, but I already ate lunch at school. You should have it." She knew he was lying. She could see the hunger in his own eyes, could hear the way his stomach growled when he opened the paper bag. He was giving her his only meal because he could see that she needed it more than he did. No one had ever done anything like that for her. Not once in her entire life. She took the sandwich. She ate it so fast she barely tasted it, and when she was done, she looked up at him with tears streaming down her dirty face. "Why?" she whispered. "Why would you do that for a stranger?" Marcus shrugged, but there was something deep and serious in his young eyes. "Because my mama always says that God puts people in our path for a reason. Maybe I was supposed to find you today. Maybe you needed someone to remind you that not everyone in the world is bad." Victoria stared at him for a long moment, and then she said something that would change both of their lives forever. "I am going to be rich someday. I am going to be so rich that I will never be hungry again, and no one will ever be able to hurt me." She paused, her voice trembling but certain. "And when I am rich, I am going to come back here and marry you, Marcus Thompson. Now before I go any further, I need you to do something for me. If you are already invested in this story, hit that subscribe button right now. Turn on those notifications, because what happens next is going to break your heart and put it back together again. Trust me on this one." Marcus laughed, not a mocking laugh, but a surprised, delighted laugh that lit up his whole face. "Girl, you are crazy. We just met 5 minutes ago. I do not care. I keep my promises." She stuck out her hand, formal and serious despite being covered in grime. "Every single one. Do you believe me?" Marcus looked at her extended hand, then at her face, at the fierce determination burning in her eyes despite everything she had been through. And something shifted inside him. "Yeah," he said softly, taking her hand. "I think I do." "Then wait for me. I do not know how long it will take, but I will come back. I promise. I will be waiting, Victoria Chun." He smiled, and it was the warmest thing she had felt in months. "Do not take too long." That night, the police found her. She was placed in foster care, shipped to a group home on the other side of the city, and the life she had known, such as it was, ended forever. She never got to say goodbye. Drop a comment right now and tell me, do you think Victoria kept her promise? Do you think she remembered that boy who saved her life with half a sandwich? Stay with me, because this story is about to take a turn you will not see coming. 15 years later, the black Mercedes pulled to a stop on the corner of Martin Luther King Boulevard and 47th Street, and a woman stepped out who looked like she belonged in a different universe entirely. Victoria Chun, billionaire, CEO, one of the most powerful women in American technology, stood on the cracked pavement in designer heels that cost more than most people in this neighborhood made in a month. Her hair was perfect. Her makeup was flawless. Her silk blouse probably cost more than the rent on every apartment on this block combined. But her eyes, hidden behind expensive sunglasses, were scanning the street with a desperation that had nothing to do with money. She was looking for him. The neighborhood had changed in 15 years. Some buildings had been torn down. Others had been renovated with fresh paint and hopeful for rent signs. But the bones of the place were the same cracked sidewalks, the same weary faces, the same sense of people fighting just to survive another day. Victoria had hired private investigators. She had searched every database, every social media platform, every public record she could access. She had found hundreds of Marcus Thompsons, but none of them were right. The boy who had saved her life had simply disappeared. Until 3 weeks ago, one of her investigators had finally found a lead. A Marcus Thompson who had grown up in this exact neighborhood, who would be the right age, who had a mother named Dorothy Thompson who still lived in the same apartment building where she had raised her son. Victoria had dropped everything, canceled meetings worth millions, rearranged her entire life, flown across the country on her private jet just to stand on this corner and find the courage to take the next step. What if he did not remember her? What if he was married with children and a life that had no room for promises made by a starving 12-year-old girl? What if, excuse me, honey, are you lost? Victoria turned to see an elderly black woman standing beside her. Silver hair, kind eyes, a grocery bag in one arm and a cane in the other. Something about her seemed achingly familiar. I am looking for someone, Victoria said, removing her sunglasses. A man named Marcus Thompson. He would be about 29 now. He grew up around here. The woman's expression shifted instantly. Something closed behind her eyes, and her posture stiffened. Why are you looking for Marcus? It is personal. We knew each other when we were children. A lot of people knew Marcus when he was young. Most of them forgot about him when things got hard. The woman's voice was guarded, protective. Why should I believe you are any different? Victoria took a deep breath. And then she told the truth. 15 years ago, I was starving to death on this corner. I had not eaten in 3 days. I was 12 years old, and I had given up hope that anyone in the world cared whether I lived or died. Her voice cracked, and then a boy sat down beside me and shared his only meal. He did not know me. He had no reason to help me, but he gave me half his sandwich because his heart would not let him walk away. The woman's eyes widened. I made him a promise that day. I told him I would come back when I was rich and marry him. It took me 15 years, but I am here. Victoria's tears were flowing freely now. I am here to keep my promise. For a long moment, the woman just stared at her. Then her face crumpled, and she began to cry. You are the girl. The Chinese girl Marcus told me about. He looked for you for months after you disappeared. He never stopped talking about you. You are his mother. Victoria's heart was pounding. You are Dorothy, and you are the girl who promised to marry my son. Dorothy reached out and touched Victoria's face with trembling fingers. After all this time, you actually came back. If you are feeling this story right now, I need you to smash that like button. Hit it as hard as you can, because what you are about to hear is going to change everything. Do not go anywhere. Dorothy led Victoria to a bench at a nearby bus stop, and there, with the noise of the city around them, she began to tell a story that made Victoria's blood run cold. Marcus was always a good boy, the best boy. Even when we had nothing, he found ways to help others. He would give away his lunch to kids who were hungrier. He would shovel snow for elderly neighbors without asking for payment. Dorothy's voice was thick with love and sorrow. He had the biggest heart of anyone I ever knew. That is the Marcus I remember. He never forgot you either. For years after you vanished, he would walk past that corner hoping you might come back. He used to tell me about the girl who promised to marry him. Dorothy smiled through her tears. He believed you. Even when I told him it was just a child's fantasy, he believed. What happened to him? Victoria's voice was barely a whisper. Where is he now? Dorothy was silent for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was hollow. When Marcus was 19, he got a job at a warehouse. Good job, honest work. He was saving money for community college. He wanted to be an engineer. She paused, gathering strength. One night, he was walking home from work when he saw a man running out of a convenience store with a gun. The man had just robbed the place. The store owner was inside, terrified. Victoria felt ice forming in her stomach. Without thinking, Marcus tackled the robber. He saved that store owner's life. But during the struggle, the gun went off. No. The bullet hit Marcus in the spine. He was 19 years old, with his whole life ahead of him. Dorothy's tears were falling freely now. He has been in a wheelchair ever since. Victoria felt the world tilt beneath her. The boy who had saved her, the boy who had given her hope when she had none, had been destroyed by his own kindness. The store owner he saved? Dorothy's voice turned bitter. Disappeared. Never testified at the trial. Never offered to help with medical bills. Never even said thank you. Marcus got a wheelchair and a lifetime of pain. The robber got 15 years in prison. And the man whose life he saved got to walk away like nothing happened. Where is Marcus now? He moved out 3 years ago. Said he did not want to be a burden on me. Dorothy pulled a folded piece of paper from her pocket. He lives in a building across town. Does computer work when he can get it. But mostly, she shook her head. Mostly he just exists. He stopped hoping a long time ago. Stopped believing that anything good would ever happen to him. Victoria took the paper with trembling hands. I need to see him. He will not believe you. He will think you pity him. He will push you away. Then I will push back. Victoria stood, her jaw set with determination. I made a promise, Mrs. Thompson, and I keep my promises. Every single one. Dorothy looked up at her, at this woman who had risen from nothing to become one of the most powerful people in the country, and she saw something that made her heart lift for the first time in years. Hope. Go find my son, she said, and bring him back to life. Okay, I need you to pause for just 1 second. Subscribe to this channel right now if you have not already. Turn on the notification bell, because part 2 is where this story takes a turn that is going to leave you speechless. Victoria is about to come face to face with the man who saved her life. But is he the same person she remembers? Stay with me. The building was a monument to despair. 5 stories of crumbling brick and rusted fire escapes. A front door that did not lock. An elevator with an out-of-order sign that looked permanent. The hallway smelled like mildew and neglect, and the fluorescent lights flickered like dying stars. Room 412. Victoria stood in front of the door, her heart pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat. She had negotiated billion-dollar deals. She had testified before Congress. She had faced down corporate rivals who wanted to destroy everything she had built. None of that had prepared her for this moment. She knocked. Silence. She knocked again, louder. Go away. The voice from inside was harsh, bitter, nothing like the warm voice she remembered. I do not want whatever you are selling. Marcus. Her voice came out smaller than she intended. Marcus Thompson? A long pause. Then the sound of wheels on wood, approaching slowly. Who wants to know? Someone who owes you everything. The door opened just a crack, held in place by a rusted chain. Through the gap, Victoria could see one brown eye, widening with shock. What the hi, Marcus? She tried to smile, but her lips were trembling. It has been a long time. Who are you? The question hurt more than she expected. But of course he did not recognize her. She had been a filthy, starving child the last time he saw her. Now she was a grown woman in designer clothes with flawless hair and makeup. My name is Victoria. Victoria Chun. 15 years ago, you found me on this corner. I was 12 years old and starving. You sat down beside me and gave me half of your sandwich. The eye in the gap went wider. You told me your mama made it, but I knew you were lying. I knew you were hungry too. But you gave it to me anyway because you saw someone in pain and you could not walk away. Victoria? His voice cracked. The Chinese girl? The Chinese girl. Tears were streaming down her face. I told you I was going to be rich someday. I told you I was going to come back and marry you. Do you remember? The door closed. Victoria's heart stopped. Then she heard the chain slide free, and the door swung open. Go ahead and drop a comment right now. Tell me what you think Victoria is feeling in this moment. Tell me what you think she is about to see. Because this next part is going to break your heart into a million pieces. Marcus Thompson sat in a worn wheelchair, wearing a faded t-shirt and sweatpants. He was still handsome. The same warm brown skin, the same bone structure she remembered, the same eyes that had shown her kindness when no one else would. But there was a hardness to him now. A wall built brick by brick over years of pain and disappointment. You came back. His voice was flat, disbelieving. After 15 years. You actually came back. I told you I would. People say a lot of things. Most of them are lies. I am not most people. Victoria stepped into the tiny apartment. One room that served as bedroom, living room, and kitchen all at once. A narrow bed. A second-hand desk with an ancient computer. A hot plate and a mini fridge. I am the girl who made you a promise. Marcus wheeled himself to the center of the room, putting distance between them. You should not have come. I had to come. Why? Because you feel guilty? Because you want to feel good about yourself by helping the poor cripple who gave you a sandwich. The bitterness in his voice cut her to the bone. But Victoria had not survived what she had survived by backing down. That is not why I am here. Then why? Look at you. He gestured at her clothes, her jewelry, the obvious wealth that dripped from every inch of her. Look at me. We are from different worlds now. We are from the same world. We just took different paths. Victoria, your mother told me what happened. How you saved that store owner and lost the use of your legs. How you have been fighting alone for 10 years. She moved closer, slowly, carefully. How you pushed everyone away because you did not want to be a burden. Marcus's jaw tightened. My mother talks too much. Your mother loves you. She has been praying for someone to come and remind you that you are worth loving. Victoria knelt in front of his wheelchair, bringing herself to his level. I am here, Marcus. I am not leaving. You cannot stay. You have your fancy life, your company, your billions of dollars. What could you possibly want with someone like me? Victoria reached out and took his hand. It was calloused and strong, the hand of a man who had worked hard before the world took that away from him. When I was 12 years old, you saved my life with half a sandwich and a moment of kindness. You did not see a dirty homeless girl. You saw a person who was hurting. You shared what little you had because your heart would not let you do anything else. Her voice cracked with emotion. That is the man I promised to marry. Not a body, not a job, not a circumstance, a heart. And I do not care if you are in a wheelchair or a hospital bed or anything else. I came back for you, and I am not letting go. Hit that like button right now if this story is touching your soul. I mean it. Smash it. Because Marcus is about to say something that will change everything. Marcus stared at her for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was rough with tears he was trying not to shed. I am not the same person I was. Neither am I. I cannot give you anything. I cannot walk. I cannot work a normal job. I cannot. He stopped, his jaw clenching with shame. I cannot even give you children. The doctors said the damage was too extensive. Victoria felt her heart shatter at the way he said it. Like he was confessing to a crime. Like his worth as a man was measured by what his body could do. Marcus, look at me. He refused to meet her eyes. Look at me. Slowly, reluctantly, he raised his gaze. I did not come here for what you can give me. I came here for who you are. The man who shares his last meal with strangers. The man who throws himself at armed robbers to save innocent people. The man who keeps fighting even when the whole world tells him to give up. She cupped his face in her hands. That is who I promised to marry. And that is exactly who you still are. Something broke inside Marcus Thompson. The wall he had built for 10 years crumbled, and tears began streaming down his face. I do not know how to do this anymore. I do not know how to let anyone in. I do not know how to believe that good things can happen. Then let me believe for both of us. Just for now. Just until you remember how. She leaned forward and pressed her forehead against his. I found you, Marcus. After 15 years, I found you. And I am never letting go. For 3 days, Victoria stayed in Chicago. She booked a suite at the nicest hotel in the city, but spent most of her time in Marcus's cramped apartment. Talking, listening, learning who he had become. He was bitter, yes, angry at a world that had failed him. But underneath all that pain, she could still see the boy who had shared his sandwich with a stranger. The way he worried about his mother. The way his eyes lit up when he talked about the engineering books he still read, designing machines in his head that he thought he would never build. She told him about her life too. The foster homes. The couple who adopted her. The years of building her company from nothing. I never forgot you, she said on the third night. Not once. Every success I had, I thought about you. I wondered if you were happy. If you ever thought about me. I thought about you every day. Marcus's voice was quiet. After you disappeared, I used to walk by that corner hoping you would come back. Then I got hurt, and hope felt like something I could not afford anymore. It is not a luxury anymore. I am here. How is this supposed to work? You are a billionaire. You run a company. You have a whole life in San Francisco. I am stuck in this chair in a rundown apartment in Chicago. We will figure it out. What if we cannot? Then we will fail trying. But I would rather fail with you than succeed with anyone else. Subscribe right now. I am serious. Hit that button. Because what happens next is going to shock you. Victoria's whole world is about to come crashing down, and you need to see how she handles it. Marcus smiled for the first time since she had arrived. Small, hesitant, but real. You are insane. I have been told. And stubborn. Also been told. And the most incredible woman I have ever met. Now that I have not heard enough. He took her hand. Okay, let us try. But I have conditions. Name them. I do not want your money. I do not want to be your charity case. If we do this, I want to contribute. I want to work. I want to be a partner, not a dependent. Done. I have a research department that could use someone with your engineering mind. Remote work, real salary, real contributions. You would be an employee, not a project. Marcus blinked. You would hire me? I would hire the smartest engineer I can find who understands what it means to build something from nothing. Your wheelchair is irrelevant. Your brain is not. For a moment, he just stared at her. Then he laughed, really laughed, surprised and joyful. God, you really are something else. I am the woman who is going to marry you. Get used to it. That night, Marcus did not fall asleep thinking about everything he had lost. For the first time in years, he fell asleep thinking about everything he might gain. But while they were building the fragile beginnings of a future, someone else was making different plans entirely. Victoria's phone had been buzzing for 3 days with urgent messages from her assistant. Board meetings, investor concerns, a hostile takeover attempt gaining momentum while she was away. She had ignored all of it. That was her first mistake. Her second mistake was underestimating David Chun, no relation, her biggest competitor and a man who had been trying to destroy her company for years. While Victoria was in Chicago falling in love, David had been busy. He had acquired a secret stake in her company. He had turned 3 board members against her, and he had found something she had kept buried for 20 years. Her real identity. The call came at midnight. Miss Chun, you need to see the news. Right now. Victoria turned on the television, and her blood turned to ice. Her face was on every channel. Beside it, photographs she had never seen. Her mother being arrested for drug trafficking. Victoria herself as a hollow-eyed child being taken by social services. And a headline that made her want to scream. Billionaire CEO's dark past exposed. Homeless daughter of convicted drug dealer, Victoria? Marcus's voice came from behind her. What is happening? She could not answer. She could only watch as everything she had built crumbled around her. Okay, we need to stop right here. Drop a comment and tell me. How would you handle this if you were Victoria? Would you hide? Would you fight? Would you run? Tell me your thoughts because part 3 is where she makes her choice. And I promise you, it is going to be legendary. The first 24 hours were pure chaos. Victoria's phone would not stop ringing. Board members demanded emergency meetings. Investors threatened to pull out. News crews camped outside her San Francisco office, her Chicago hotel, even Dorothy Thompson's apartment building. She sat in Marcus's tiny apartment watching her life unravel on screen and felt the old familiar terror rising in her chest. The terror of being exposed, of being seen for what she really was, a survivor of poverty, a child of addiction, a woman who had been pretending to be someone else for 2 decades. Victoria. Marcus wheeled himself in front of the television, blocking her view. Look at me. I cannot. My company is falling apart. My reputation is, look at me. She forced herself to focus on his face, on the man who had seen her at her worst and helped her anyway. Breathe. Just breathe. Everyone knows now. They know I was homeless. They know about my mother. They know I have been lying about who I am for 20 years. They know the truth. His voice was steady, and from where I am sitting, the truth is pretty impressive. What? A girl with nothing, no family, no money, no support, survived the streets, built a billion-dollar company, became one of the most powerful women in the country. He took her hands. That is not a scandal. That is a miracle. You do not understand how these people think. The wealthy elite, the investors, they do not want someone with my background. Then they do not deserve you. Marcus squeezed her hands. Listen to me. I spent 10 years being ashamed of who I am. Ashamed of this wheelchair. Ashamed of where I live. And you know what that shame got me? Nothing. Absolutely nothing except misery. Victoria stared at him. You have nothing to be ashamed of. You survived things that would destroy most people. If anyone uses your past against you, that says everything about them and nothing about you. Like this video right now if Marcus just said exactly what Victoria needed to hear. Smash that button. Because what she does next is going to be the most powerful moment in this entire story. Something shifted inside Victoria. A weight she had carried for 20 years suddenly lifted. What are you saying I should do? Stop hiding. Stop running. Stop being ashamed. His voice was fierce. Own your story. Every painful, messy, beautiful part of it. Because that story, that girl who survived, that is who I fell in love with. Victoria felt tears streaming down her face. You love me. Since I was 14 years old, and you shook my hand like we were closing a business deal instead of sharing a sandwich. He smiled. Yes, Victoria. I love you. She leaned forward and kissed him. When they finally pulled apart, both crying, something had changed. Okay, she whispered. Let us own this story. Victoria's counterattack began the next morning. She called a press conference at her San Francisco headquarters, flying in on her private jet with Marcus beside her. The reporters gathered like sharks, smelling blood. They were not prepared for what happened. Victoria walked to the podium in a simple black suit, looked directly into the cameras, and spoke. My name is Victoria Chun. 23 years ago, I was abandoned by my mother on the streets of Chicago. I was 12 years old. I spent months living on the streets, eating from garbage cans, wondering if I would survive. The room went silent. I was found by police and placed in foster care. I was adopted by a wonderful couple who believed in me. They left me a small inheritance that I used to build the company that became Chun Technologies. She paused. The story released yesterday is true. Every part of it. My mother was a drug addict. I was homeless. I was hungry. And I spent 20 years hiding that truth because I was ashamed. Another pause. I am not ashamed anymore. Because the girl who survived those streets, the girl who refused to give up, who kept fighting, who built something incredible from nothing, that girl is why I am standing here today. And I will not apologize for her. A murmur swept through the crowd. To anyone who thinks my background disqualifies me from leading this company, you are wrong. It is precisely because of my background that I understand what it takes to build from nothing. It is precisely because I have been hungry that I never take success for granted. She straightened her shoulders. I am Victoria Chun, daughter of an addict, survivor of homelessness, self-made billionaire. And I am not going anywhere. Go ahead and comment right now. Tell me how that speech made you feel. Tell me if you are cheering for Victoria. Because this story is building to something beautiful, and I need to know you are with me. The first question came fast. Ms. Chun, do you believe this leak was connected to the takeover attempt? Absolutely. David Chin orchestrated this to destabilize my leadership. He underestimated how much my team cares about results over image. Are you saying you will fight the takeover? I am saying I will win. I have faced worse than corporate raiders. I have never lost a fight I truly cared about. One more question. Who is the man you arrived with? Victoria smiled. His name is Marcus Thompson. When I was 12 and starving, he gave me half his sandwich. He was the first person who showed me kindness without expecting anything in return. He is the man I am going to marry. The room exploded. Over the next 6 weeks, Victoria executed the most aggressive defense her industry had ever seen. She rallied loyal shareholders. She exposed David Chin's illegal tactics. She went on every news network and told her story, not as a victim, but as a survivor. She became a symbol of resilience. And she did it all with Marcus beside her. He joined her company as a real engineer, working from an accessible office she built for him. Every day, he proved that his mind had never stopped working, even when his legs had. The takeover failed. David Chin faced federal investigation. Victoria's stock reached record highs. But the best moment came 3 months later. Subscribe right now and turn on notifications. Because the ending of this story is going to stay with you forever. We are almost there. They stood on the corner of MLK and 47th Street, the exact spot where they had first met. 14 years old, Marcus said softly. I walk past this spot every day, never really looked at it. Until I saw you. I was so scared, so angry. I had given up hope that anyone cared if I lived or died. And then some random kid gave you a sandwich. It was not random. Victoria faced him. It was fate. Whatever force brings people together when they need each other most. Marcus reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. When I was 14, a girl made me a promise. She said she would come back when she was rich and marry me. I spent 15 years thinking it was just a dream. He opened the box. A simple gold ring with a single diamond. But I had a promise too. I just never said it out loud. Marcus, Victoria Chun, when you shook my hand, something clicked. I knew you were special. I promised myself that if I ever saw you again, I would not let you go. Tears streamed down her face. I cannot give you mansions or jets, but I can give you my heart, which has belonged to you since we were children. I can give you my promise to spend every day trying to be worthy of you. He held up the ring. Will you marry me? She dropped to her knees in front of his wheelchair. Yes. 1,000 times yes. I have been waiting 15 years for you to ask. He slipped the ring on her finger, and they kissed right there on the corner where they first met, while the sun set and stars appeared. Hit that like button right now. Hit it hard. Because this story is about to end in the most beautiful way possible. The wedding was 6 months later. A rooftop in Chicago. 50 guests. Dorothy in the front row, crying happy tears. They wrote their own vows. Marcus, Victoria said, you taught me what kindness looks like when there is nothing to gain. You showed me that love does not require wealth or success. It just requires seeing someone in pain and refusing to walk away. I will spend my life trying to be as generous and brave as the boy who gave me half his sandwich. Marcus took her hands. Victoria, you taught me that a promise made in poverty can be worth more than a fortune made in selfishness. You taught me that hope is not a luxury. It is the only thing that makes life worth living. I will spend my life trying to be worthy of the woman who kept her promise. They kissed, and the crowd erupted. 1 year later, Victoria stepped back as CEO. Not because of scandal, but because she realized there were more important things than earnings reports. She and Marcus moved to Chicago. They established the Thompson Foundation to help homeless youth and disabled adults. The community center she had funded was renamed the Marcus Thompson Center. Every year, on their anniversary, they returned to that corner. They brought sandwiches, dozens of them, and handed them to anyone who was hungry. They sat on the sidewalk, just like Marcus had done 15 years ago, and talked to people the world had forgotten. Why do you keep coming back? A young girl asked 1 year. 10 years old. Dirty clothes. Hollow eyes. Because this is where I learned the most important lesson of my life, Victoria said. What lesson? That kindness changes everything. That one act of generosity ripples outward forever. That the people who help us when we have nothing are worth more than all the money in the world. She pressed a sandwich into the girl's hands. And that promises made in the darkest moments are the ones most worth keeping. The girl took a bite. Are you rich? I used to be poor. Just like you. I lived on these streets. What happened? Victoria looked at Marcus, laughing with teenagers gathered around his wheelchair. Someone shared their sandwich with me. And everything changed. The girl chewed thoughtfully. Maybe someday I will be rich too. Maybe you will. And if I am, I will come back. Just like you. Victoria smiled through tears. Then I will be waiting. The girl stuck out her hand. My name is Destiny. And I promise, when I am rich, I will help people. Just like you. Victoria shook her hand. I believe you, Destiny. Every word. Above them, the sunset painted the clouds gold and purple, as if the universe was witnessing another promise made on a street corner. A promise that would be kept. A life that would be changed. A cycle of kindness continuing forever. That is the end of this story, and if you made it here, I need 3 things from you. First, hit that like button as hard as you can. This story took my whole heart. Second, drop a comment. Tell me, do you believe in promises? Has anyone ever changed your life with a single act of kindness? I read every single comment. Third, subscribe and turn on notifications. I have so many more stories coming, and each one will hit just like this. Thank you for staying until the end. Thank you for believing that love is stronger than circumstance. Thank you for believing that promises matter. I will see you in the next one.